Hello and welcome back to this shared space on YouTube called Natural Connection with a Shaman. I'm your host, Shaman Odin Greywolf, and remember, this is our channel. This is our channel where I share information that can benefit all of us. So, this is the Goetia, the day of the Goetia. So the 23rd Goetia coming up is AIM. AIM. A-I-M. And I'm going to read about the alchemical process of AIM, and then I'll explain to you how that kind of played out before I even started to do today's work on the 23rd Goetia. So before I get into that, if you haven't already, please hit the like button. If you're new to the channel and you like this video, subscribe. It helps the channel get up in the algorithm. And stay tuned for future videos. Let's get into this. So, AIM. Who is AIM? AIM is a great duke. A duke is a high-ranking official who provides military and financial support. He leads armies and administering terror in the king's name. AIM appears as a handsome man in a body, but with 3 heads. One of the heads is a serpent, the second is a man with 2 stars on his forehead, and the third is like a cat, or in other instances is a calf. So AIM will have 3 heads. The final one will either be a cat or it will be a calf. It depends on what the work is. So let's get into why he appears like this. The serpent head stands for wisdom and knowledge and the eternal process of cycles. The man's head with stars on it symbolize transformation, enlightenment, and the great works of alchemy. The cat symbolizes mystery and hidden knowledge, and if the calf, like a young cow, if the calf is the 3rd head, it stands for vulnerability and nurture. AIM rides on a viper, symbolizing using knowledge to get where he needs to go, and he carries a branding iron, one of those old school cattle branding irons, right? This is symbolic of the ego, which indicates the transformation of the ego. AIM sets cities, castles, and great places on fire, which goes along with the destruction of either enemies or the magician's ego. Okay? And AIM can make one witty in many ways and will give honest answers to private matters. And then we're going to talk about setting things on fire, right? That's really a metaphor for making tinted glass, rose-colored lenses, okay? But AIM can help us see through different perspectives, okay? By creating reflections in our lives. So a different perspective by having a reflection in your life. What does that mean? Well, a reflection is, let's say, something negative that you might do yourself. When I was going through reflections, it was like the lessons I didn't want to face, I was seeing in others. I was seeing or this happened to me at one point too. Reflections went like this. As I would evolve, as we are constantly doing, always evolving. So let's say evolving, coming as becoming more aware of myself and my own behavioral patterns. As I would come out of negative or unfavorable behavioral patterns, I would see people come into my life that were me just a year before. In other words, they were displaying the behavioral patterns I just overcome, right? That's a reflection. When we start seeing how annoying our bad attitudes was, right? That's when we start actually learning wisdom. We're like, oh, that was me. Oh my God, that was me. How embarrassing, man. Did I really feel like that? And then for a while, when it first starts happening, you're like, oh God, right? Like it's such a drain. But what happens? What's the wisdom that you're not seeing here? By recognizing a reflection of a behavioral pattern that you have overcome, this means that you have the wisdom to subtly help that person transition, right? Only makes sense, does it not? So, you knowing yourself, right? And knowing the state of mind you're in. Let's just say, for instance, in the know-it-all phase of your life. Like, I know everything. You can't tell me nothing. I know everything. Well, if you recognize you being in that situation and how you wouldn't have listened to anyone if they like just straight came out with like, hey, I know where you're at. This is what helped me, right? So what would you do? You would subtly drop small eggs, Easter eggs, if you will. You ever watch movies and they talk about the little Easter eggs, hidden gems in the movies that are like usually metaphors or references to other movies? So you would drop subtle Easter eggs of knowledge to help that person. Eventually, that seed is now planted, right? So then they would eventually go and that seed would grow in their own unconscious. So this week you might be working, you might be seeing yourself, past versions of yourself that weren't so healthy. It will be annoying if this is the situation, right? But remember what I just said. You overcame this, right? This is you last year or 5 years from ago or who knows, however long ago. It's a state of life where you had to evolve from, and now it's being mirrored back to you so that you can offer the help and guidance to someone that could use it, right? So now when you see these reflections, you won't take it so negatively. You'll see, oh, okay, this is a place where I can do my part. Just like those before me did their part to help me evolve through this situation, this mindset, this behavioral programming. I now am gifted the opportunity to offer that pearl of wisdom to someone else by planting a subliminal seed or subtle seed, a subtle seed, not subliminal. When I say subliminal, it kind of gives me the feeling of like negativity. Subtle, subtle. Just small little drops of wisdom that you know would have done you good if you heard, or maybe it did. Maybe somebody subtly dropped you wisdom that they knew you wouldn't understand if they came straight forward with it. And in that moment, when they dropped that subtle wisdom, you stopped to think and then went right back to your behavior, right? It's now your turn to pass down the torch to someone else and help them without needing to be the teacher or the master. Just subtly pass on the seed. Okay, this is because AIM symbol, AIM sigil, is a representation for making a colored glass to look through. This represents seeing the world in a new light, okay? So I just kind of explained how you can see the world in a new light. When you see reflections, I mean, believe me, this went on for a couple of years with me, with reflections, right? And it took me a minute to get the memo. I'm like, oh, I don't want to be around these people. They remind me of myself. And I wasn't telling anybody but myself that, oh my God, get back. Nope, stay away from them, right? They remind me of myself. How embarrassing is that, right? but took a minute to get the understanding. Drop a subtle hint and give space. In other words, drop a subtle hint, give your distance. Let them grow on their own. When you plant a seed, you don't dig it up over and over and over again to see if it took root. You plant the seed and you go on to the other parts of the garden, right? This is coming to help you get a better understanding of the world around you, okay? So, let me see where do we leave off? Seeing the world in a new light. So again, I would say transforming how we think and see the world around us by reflecting on life seen through rose-colored lenses, right? So what are rose-colored lenses when we talk about rose-colored? That's what they mean by like setting the world on fire, looking through the glass that you make through this alchemical process is like an orange-red hue, okay? So when you look through that glass, it looks like the world's on fire, but it represents seeing the world through a different perspective. Just as now I've burst a bubble on what the sigil means, right? So like usually when people see sigils, they're like, oh my God, devil worshiper, right? But it's really an alchemical process of here, go make some rose-colored glasses because I need you to see through the ridiculousness you're speaking to me at. Right? So that's like an alchemist telling another or teaching someone else, like, here, go do this alchemical process. And when you are all done with the final product, look through that glass and tell me what you see. Right? So it's like a metaphor for, like, let's put it like this. I remember working with my father as a plumber. And the first time, you young, ego, think you know it all. And I was really just in the way. So he hands me a bucket and he's like, I need you to fill this bucket up with rocks this big. They can't be any smaller and they can't be any bigger. So go fill this bucket up with rocks that big. So I did. I went around the whole field and I'm filling up the bucket and blah, 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 blah. I bring it and he throws it on the ground and then hands it back to me and says, now go do it again, right? So metaphorically, he's like, you're in the way right now, right? Then later on in my plumbing career, I'm just a helper, and I'm running around like I knew it all as a helper. So my journeyman tells me, hey, go ask Al for the bubble fluid for my level. So, okay, even though it didn't make sense, I didn't want to seem stupid. I wanted to act like I knew it all, right? So I ran around the job asking people for the bubble fluid. And everybody I went to was like, oh yeah, he's got it over there. Oh, he's got it over there. But by the time I got back to him, it was a small, honest humor way of saying, you don't know everything, right? So an alchemist is kind of telling you this week, you may see reflections to remind you that, hey, we've all been in ridiculous states of being. It's not for us to judge anyone else. It's for us to subtly pass down the wisdom that helped us without needing the master's seal of approval, like without needing anything in return, like greatness, right? You're just doing this as a kindness as it was done to you. You're able to offer a stepping stool for somebody struggling in a situation that you once were at. Okay, why would we do this? Oh, okay. When you're working with AIM, you're working with the color green, which stands for heart chakra, Venus, and the metal copper. You're working with the elements of fire and the incense of sandalwood to meditate too, right? Those are the smells. Aromatherapy plays really big roles in your mind when you're doing alchemical meditations, if you will. focusing on life. Like say you go out in the city and you just happen to have one of those days where like everyone you met, it was a reflection of you from the past, and you're like, oh my God. And you come home, you burn some sandalwood, it'd be like, all right, take a little break, breathe, don't turn the TV on, put your phone down. This incense is going to start a sequence of firing in your mind to help soothe and calm, releasing oxytocins and serotonins and dopamines, right? You don't want a dopamine fix, so you don't want to take any substances or anything like that, but the sandalwood will help your mind get into the proper place to really go through the reflections you saw during the day. Okay, and why would we do this? To achieve the consciousness of Melahel, right? The God who frees from suffering. There's something you're suffering through, okay? And you may not know what it is. You won't know probably until next Friday. You probably won't know. Or throughout the week as you're working and this is going through your awareness, now that you've watched this video, it'll help you free yourself from the tyranny of passions that would enact harm on others or the world around us. So, the consciousness of Melahel brings achievements, protection, success, and helps us free ourselves from our own tyrannical mind that thinks that causing harm to others or outside world, projecting, right? We need to stop projecting. Like if something bad happens to us, or we have a day of reflections, right? And it just really embarrasses you because you know you were once like that, which is usually the reason why there is so much conflict in the world. People are seeing their self mirrored back to themselves, and it triggers anger. We don't want to trigger that anger. We want to cause the cure. Okay. So during this week, you will have the protection to safely travel and be defended from enemies' weapons and heal any injuries or illnesses within. That goes to mental or physical, emotional, all of that. But so let me explain to you what happened today. Nothing bad. I was just talking to my daughter, and we were talking about people who are always speaking negative about others. And I told her, when this was happening to me, I learned that the best course of action was to ask my angels, spirit guides, and ancestors to bless them with as many blessings as it takes to make them know and understand and feel in their heart that they don't have to be this way towards others. And this went on for about a few years. Like, you know, those times when you say, oh, I could just, right? Instead of saying that, I started doing that as like a mantra, an affirmation, and a prayer, right? Just because I was at my wit's end. I mean, I already told you about reflections, right? So everywhere I was going and blah, 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 and I didn't understand that at those moments I was supposed to be passing down the wisdom that helped me get through it. In other words, those subtle hints that other alchemists gave me along my way. And I was very frustrated. Well, people were talking negative about me and my family and different, people in my lives. And that was a version of me before, because that's how I used to be, not knowingly. The what would my kid call it? Not boomer, but Gen X generation was, everybody talked shit about everybody else. I remember growing up in California, like the coolest thing to do was sit around and cap on each other, make fun of each other. So previous versions of myself, so I started to realize, you know what? the only thing I can do is just ask for my spiritual allies to give them the good feelings that I'm feeling right now, because it does feel good, and I don't wish to crap on anybody anymore. So I started doing that over and over and over again. Well, I was talking to my daughter, and I got a call. I got a call from a family member about another family member, and on the way home, I just asked for the same thing. They were, I don't know what they're going through. I haven't talked to them in years, but all we can do is change our perspective, where we're seeing the world through maybe reflections, or maybe you're hidden through your rose-colored lenses. We tell people you're wearing rose-colored lenses when we're trying not to see the truth in our lives at this time. So maybe this is your hint to face the truth. Reflections will come to you. You'll remember a time when you behaved or when you spoke just like that, like you knew it all, or you had all the answers, or you're more glorified than who you truly are, or whatever the situation. Accept this with a different perspective. This is your opportunity to offer help and healing to someone in that situation, so that you can live a better life as well. Because when you heal others who are living embodiments of your past versions of self, you're healing your environment. When you heal your environment, oh man, I could feel it already. The energy ripples off of your body, creating frequencies of peace, compassion, understanding. Hey, you didn't get mad or judge or project energy onto them at this time. You actually understood where they were coming from and passed down the rose-colored lenses. Hey, the bubble fluid. Hey, do you know what a pipe stretcher is? Have you found the sky hooks? But be subtle and playful, right? Offer some kind of assistance. So that's what that's this week. Haven't done any astrology. This is my first day home. But I will get to the astrology, and I guarantee you it lines up with whatever you're going through. So that's what I have for you. If you found this video helpful, please hit the like button. If you're new to the channel, go ahead and subscribe, and welcome to our team here on Natural Connection with the Shaman. Share this video with anyone you think would find helpful, and stick around for future videos to come. Thank you. Take care.